You're happy that schools will be closed heading into next week? Why? And obviously this is from a health and medical perspective.
Yeah, I don't think schools were ready to reopen, and that's mainly because there has been no update or talk of a robust plan using the multi-layered approach that we know we're going to need to pivot from our COVID zero current plan to our near future of living with COVID reality. And, we're almost a victim of our own success. And we've seen this in other countries. But the strength of the New Zealand response has been that we've always followed science and that we've always used the precautionary principle. And so I welcome the news yesterday that they are mandating vaccination for all teaching staff, because that is one of the big three components that are very important for safe school reopening. The second thing that I was happy to hear is about the mask mandates at level 3, which we have for secondary school students. But I think that's going to have to be extended, into a lower age group, because the under 12s are our most vulnerable population currently, because they are not eligible for the vaccination. But the third area, which I was disappointed that I haven't heard any talk about, is ventilation. And, already we've acknowledged that it's safe for people to meet with one other bubble outside, because outdoors, it's well ventilated. And I think the game changer with the whole why Delta has been a game changer is we know that during this pandemic that we learned that the main form of transmission of COVID is through aerosol spread. And the reason Delta has been a game changer is because that R0 value is up to 9, and that's because people are emitting 1,000 times more viral particles. So in order to prevent people getting infected and inhaling these aerosols, we need really good well-fitted masks, and we need really good ventilation where we have fresh, flowing and filtered outdoor air that in indoor shared spaces.
So that's the multi-layered approach. I'm assuming you're talking about vaccination, masks and also ventilation. If I can come back to you, Dr. Ramanathan, can I bring you in here just to kind of wrap up this conversation? Just to, again, from a health perspective, why is it important for staff to be vaccinated when the reality is you're going to have kids that are turning up into classrooms that are not vaccinated? Why is the safety measure important?
Well, I think it's important because, as we've seen overseas, children mainly have mild infections or can be asymptomatic, which is reassuring. And a lot of the transmission actually occurs from adults to children. And, recently there was quite a high-profile case in the US where an unvaccinated teacher, although there were mask mandates, took off her mask and managed, while reading a story. And despite the students having masks on, she managed to infect, I think, 12 out of 22 students, where 80% were in the front rows, but some were in the back rows. So, I think the point I'd really like to highlight, and it's very encouraging to see that the principals are saying that there's high uptake of, the mandatory vaccination for teachers, is that what all the countries are realizing is that a vaccine just plan is not good enough, and particularly in countries such as New Zealand, where we have had pretty much zero natural infection, that we can look to Singapore, where soon after reopening, even with very high vaccination rates, they had to switch back to online schooling. And I think New Zealand classrooms are renowned to be crowded and poorly ventilated. And we need to protect our children with every single tool we have. And so there needs to be an urgent review of the ventilation status of all the classrooms. We've seen it in Melbourne. They've had 51,000 air purifiers being flown in and urgent ventilation assessment of the classrooms. And just opening the windows is not good enough. So, and this is not just relevant for COVID. This is relevant for our children's health, because it will protect them against all sorts of of respiratory illnesses.
Dr Ramanathan, we appreciate your time on the show this morning. Maury Abraham, the principal at Hobsonville Secondary School, Kieran Fui, headmaster at St Paul's College. Wish you both all the very best and appreciate all of you for joining in on this really important conversation this morning. Tēnā koutou katoa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'd love your feedback on that as well. Breakfast at tvnz.co.nz. Stay with us. We'll be right back with the 6:30 news after the break.